This is the Sabbath School lesson for the third quarter, 2021.
Lesson 9 from the series Rest in Christ is titled The Rhythms of Rest, ready for teaching on August 28. I'm Percy Harrold. Wednesday, August 25. Another reason to rest. Israel was camped on the eastern side of the Jordan. They had taken possession of the lands of the king of Bashan and 2 kings of the Amorites. Once again, at this crucial moment, Moses called Israel together and reminded them that the covenant made at Sinai was not just for their parents, but for them too. He then went on to repeat the 10 Commandments again for their benefit. Compare Exodus 20, verses 8 to 11, and Deuteronomy 5, 12 to 15. What is the difference in the way the Sabbath commandment was expressed in them? Exodus 20, beginning at verse 8, Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labour and do all your work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. And Deuteronomy 5, beginning at verse 12. Observe the Sabbath day to keep it holy, as the Lord your God commanded you. 6 days you shall labour and do all your work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your ox, nor your donkey, nor any of your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates, that your male servant and your female servant may rest as well as you. And remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God brought you out from there by a mighty hand and by an outstretched arm. Therefore the Lord your God commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. In Exodus 20, verse 8, the commandment began with the word remember. Deuteronomy 15:12 began with the word observe. The word remember came a bit later in the commandment itself in Deuteronomy 5:15. In this verse, Israel was told to remember that they were slaves. Although this generation had grown up free, they would all have been born into slavery were it not for the miraculous rescue. The Sabbath commandment was to remind them that the same God who was active in the creation story also was active in their deliverance. The Lord your God brought you out from there with a strong hand and outstretched arm, it says in Deuteronomy 5:15. This truth fit the then current circumstances of the Israelites, standing for a second time at the border of the Promised Land some 40 years after the first generation failed so miserably. They were as helpless in conquering this land as their forefathers were in escaping from Egypt. They needed this God who acted with a strong hand and an outstretched arm. The Sabbath was about to take on an added dimension. Because God was the God of liberation, Israel was to keep the Sabbath day, as you read in Deuteronomy 5:15. Of course, creation is never far from the Sabbath commandment, even in Deuteronomy 5, despite the added reason to keep it, the liberation of Israel. In a sense, the liberation of Israel out of the land of Egypt is the starting point of a new creation, similar to the creation story in Genesis. Israel, as a liberated people, is God's new creation. We'll also see this example in Isaiah 43, verse 15. I am the Lord, your Holy One, the Creator of Israel, your King. And because the Exodus is seen as a symbol of freedom from sin, that is, redemption, we can find in the Sabbath a symbol of both creation and redemption. Hence, in a very real way, the Sabbath points us to Jesus, our Creator and our Redeemer. And so to finish the day, read John 1, verses 1 to 13. What do these verses teach us about Jesus as our Creator and Redeemer? John 1, beginning in verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. This man came for a witness, to bear witness of the light, that all through him might believe. He was not that light, but was sent to bear witness of that light. That was the true light, which gives light to every man coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, to those who believe in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. It's supported by the Sabbath School Department and Hope Channel Australia, and is rebroadcast by Christian Record Services and through podcasts at It Is Written in the United States, Hope Channel Germany, and through Apple iTunes and SoundCloud. Remember, God is always faithful.